say?
He asked who you are. Your name. I told him we didn't need to know anything about you.
Book. John Book.
Welcome to Film and Page. I'm Dominic, and in this video I'm going to be talking about Witness, the 1985 film. And the movie stars Harrison Ford, Kelly McGillis, and Lucas Haas, and Danny Glover. And a few more familiar faces in there. Viggo Mortensen is in there, and Alexander Godunov. I'm not sure that's how you pronounce his name, but he was one of the blonde terrorists in Die Hard. That's the other thing I remember him from. So I'll give a quick rundown of the plot. So the movie starts off in an Amish community, and there's a woman whose husband had just recently died. And so her and her son, they're going to go visit her sister in Baltimore. So they leave on a train, and one of the cities they stop in, where they're waiting for their next connection, the little boy goes to use the bathroom, and he witnesses a murder in there, committed by Danny Glover. And Danny Glover is a police officer. So now he's a material witness to this homicide, and the homicide is being investigated by John Book, played by Harrison Ford. The first part of the movie, he's showing all these different mugshots of different suspects, and little boy doesn't recognize any of them. He's coming up dry. So what happens is the little boy spots a picture of Danny Glover in the police department. So he points out to Harrison Ford's character, John Book, like, this is the guy that I saw. So Harrison Ford, with that information, goes and takes that to his superior officer, tells him, and then there's an attempt, after he tells him that, there's an attempt on John Book's life. So now he realizes that his superior officer was also in on all this dirty work and is in with these crooked cops. So now he's got to take the woman and her son, and he's got to run and hide, and he hides at the Amish community. And then the movie goes on from there, and all kinds of wacky hijinks ensue. So this movie, I remember seeing bits and pieces of this movie like back in the 90s. This is one of those movies that seemed like it got played a lot on TBS. TBS had a lot of movies on it back then in the 90s, and if you had basic cable, that was a place you could catch like a lot of action movies and movies like this. Now this is more of a drama than an action movie. It's got some action, but it's not action heavy. And it's one of these kind of movies I really like Harrison Ford in. Because Harrison Ford always had this everyday guy appeal to him. Like, he's got that ordinary guy look. Like, he looks like a guy that you would see on any construction site. You know, he'd be like one of the foremen or something like that. Or you could easily see him in any one of these blue-collar jobs. You know, he doesn't have this over-the-top look or presence to him, say like Arnold Schwarzenegger, where Arnold Schwarzenegger in his action movies, he is like this over-the-top, like almost like walking, special effect because of the way he looks, you know, how built he is and his voice, and he's like such a larger-than-life persona. Where Harrison Ford has like this everyday kind of beaten down hero look to him. You know, he's kind of rugged looking, and he usually gets the crap kicked out of him in his movies and stuff like that, and his characters usually go through a lot. Same thing in this movie. So now I'm going to talk more detail in the movie. So if you haven't seen it, spoiler warning. So when he goes to the Amish community, he got shot. Danny Glover ends up shooting him in their brief confrontation, and before he goes on the run. And while he's there, he's got to heal from his gun wound before he can figure out how he's going to deal with all these crooked cops that are looking for him and trying to kill him and the kid, and cover this whole thing up. So while he's there, he starts to form like a romantic relationship with the boy's mother. And there is a clash of cultures, his like big city ways and like, I guess, ungodly ways compared to them, where they have this very puritanical lifestyle. You know, they don't have any kind of technology. I don't even think they have even a radio or anything like that, like no TV, nothing. They live very, very stuck in time type deal. And so he kind of blends in with the community a little bit. You know, he does work on the farm. You know, he helps them do barn raising and all that kind of thing. But now him and this Amish woman, they're starting to fall in love. And this is more or less, the story is more about this than it is about the action. It's about this relationship that he kind of forms with this woman and the boy. Like he kind of becomes a father figure for the boy. And now in the movie, there's a competing suitor of the blonde terrorist guy from Die Hard. He also is interested in this woman, and he wants to marry her too, and he's an Amish guy. But there's a bit of like confrontation. There's no like direct confrontation there with him and Harrison Ford's character, but the confrontation is very, very subtle, because these Amish guys are like pacifists. They don't, fight or anything. So basically it's just down to he's always giving Harrison Ford's character like funny looks and stuff like that. And so that's that's a really cool thing about the movie, that you kind of see this clash of cultures between the two. And the other thing is, for the romance to work, because it's kind of like a doomed romance right from the start, for it to actually work, one of them has to give up their worlds. It's like The Little Mermaid. But in The Little Mermaid, I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I think she gives up her world to be with the guy when they get married at the end. But one of them's got to make that sacrifice. So this is like a similar scenario. She either has to leave that Amish community to be with him because he's a cop that lives in the city, or he has to give up being a cop and live and stay there. And there's a scene where they almost end up, making love or whatever, but they don't do it. They don't end up doing it. And the next morning, he tells her that, like, if we had made love last night, I would have had to have stayed, or you would have had to have come with me, and we'd have to leave this place. So it's a futile romance they have. And so then the breaking point in the film, because these guys are looking for him, the crooked cops, but they can't find him because the area he's gone hid, there's like so many Amish communities there, and a lot of them have the same type of names. They don't have telephones, they don't have any technology, so it's like they're really off the grid. It's hard to track anyone down when they're hiding in one of these places. So the final tip-off they get is they go into the city, Harrison Ford with the Amish guys, and while he's there, he finds out that his partner was killed by these crooked cops, so he's really upset, stuff like that. And as they're going out, these like punks or guys, and they're picking on the Amish guys, making fun of them, and they stick ice cream in the one guy's face. But the Amish, they like won't fight back. Like that's their thing. They're total pacifists. They will not fight back. And then Harrison Ford wants to get involved, but the other older guy says, "Oh, no, that's not our way." But Harrison Ford says, "It's not your way, but it's my way." So he gets out and he beats the crap out of one of the guys. And then the cops see that, and then the cops get involved, and then it goes back. And that's how the crooked cops find out he's there. So at the end of the movie, there's like a gun battle that ensues on the farm. 3 of these crooked cops, one of them including Danny Glover, come out, and Harrison Ford's John Book's superior officer come out to get him, and they're going to knock him off. So he takes out the first guy, and then he ends up shooting Danny Glover, gets him, and then, but at the last of it, his superior officer gets the drop on him. And then at this point now, he's surrounded by all these Amish people. So Harrison Ford finally just snaps and tells him, like, it's done, you're over. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to shoot me in front of all these people? You're going to shoot this kid? Like, you're finished. Like, enough is enough. You're over. You're done. So he realizes, like, yeah, I'm done. This is not going to work. I'm not going to get out of this one. I'm not going to win this one. And he gives it up. But what was kind of cool is, or what I liked about the movie is, him and the woman, just before these crooked cops show up, him and the woman, they have like a really passionate kiss, because they can't be together and they know they're doomed. And like, this is the only bit of physical affection they show each other throughout the whole movie, because they don't have sex or anything. They have one really like super passionate kiss just before all the action hits. And that was a very effective on-screen, like, as far as the romance go, like, I'm not a big romance guy, but I think that the romantic angle in this movie and the relationship between him and this woman, it really works. Like, they really hit it home with that one. And then so they have this one like super passionate kiss embrace just before everything happens. And then at the end of the movie, when everything's over, they kind of, when they say goodbye, they both just kind of look at each other and they realize like it's not gonna work. Like, they have to give it up. They have to let it go. He's got to go back to his world. She has to stay in theirs. And it's never going to work. And so he ends up leaving. And as he's leaving, it's interesting because the blonde guy that's after her, from the terrorist guy from Die Hard, he's coming down the road to head towards her to court her, I guess. And so it's kind of implied that that's who she ends up with anyway. And it's kind of a sad reality sometimes that you know, you meet people where I think everyone's kind of experienced this too. It's you know, you meet someone and you both connect. Like, you know, you meet another person in this world, you both really connect on a romantic level. But because of the circumstances of reality, you know, you live in these totally different worlds. It's not going to work, and you can't be together for whatever reason. And I think everyone can kind of relate to that. So that was like the thing that I found really fascinating about this film, is that whole angle. It was more fascinating than actually the action angle of the film, because there isn't a lot of action in the movie. It's more about him developing this romance with this woman. And I guess that's that's one of the messages of the movie. You know, sometimes you can't always be with Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. Just sometimes life gets in the way and reality doesn't allow it. And that's just the way it is. So it has kind of that sad angle to the ending, but overall, a really good Harrison Ford film. I would probably put this, I don't know if it would be in my top 5, but it'd definitely be in a top 10 for sure of all the Harrison Ford movies I've seen. And Harrison Ford, he really does well in these types of movies. I really like him in these movies. He's done a lot of movies like this. And when this came out, this is like, he was right hot, he just came right hot off of like Indiana Jones and Star Wars and all this. So this is a really big shift for him in tone and stuff like that. And so it's a very different character from Han Solo or Indiana Jones, where Indiana Jones is like kind of over the top, larger than life character. And so is Han Solo. This is a very different character. And this was like for me, like the 80s and 90s, just how I see it anyway. This might not be how it actually is, but this is just how I observed it. The 80s and the 90s was like Harrison Ford. That's when he was in his heyday. That's when he did his best stuff, and that's when he was at the top of his game. And then when you start to get in like the early 2000s and stuff, it starts to taper off, and to how it is today, because like, he's older and, you know, things like that. But, you know, every actor has that. They have like their peak and then they taper off. Like, that's just how it is. And my personal opinion, for me, like, his best movies he did were in the 80s and the 90s. That's just my opinion. So yeah, I would definitely check this movie out, and it is on Amazon Prime. This is where I watched it. So that's everything I got to say in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and I will see you at the next one. I'd like to say thank you to all of my subscribers. I appreciate you all in helping this channel grow. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded.